It's a blessing to be alive this morning. It's a blessing to be alive this morning. Because somebody's last night was last night. This past on Wednesday would have been Dr. King's 85th birthday. And a few minutes ago we had stood united and sung "We Shall Overcome." But in order to overcome, first you must believe that you can overcome. But you got to do more than sing "We shall overcome." You got to endure and have faith and believe that you can and shall overcome. If Dr. King could wake up on this Sunday morning, I'm sure he would be torn between the progress we have made as a country and the threats that are now taken away from that past progress that was made. I recently heard a Pastor Howard John Wesley, say in his excellent spirit message that past progress does not guarantee future success. That's right. Past progress does not guarantee future success. The aforementioned statement rings true down to the very core of the forthcoming powerful words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Right. Isn't it ironic that in our community that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is often evasive? If Dr. King was physically here today, I'm sure he would be disappointed that black unemployment stood at 13.1% for the majority of last year. He would be disappointed that the city of Chicago is now known as Chirac, because in 2012 more homicides occurred in that city than in the country of Iraq. Our streets and our communities are becoming war zones. And only God can save us from us. He would be disappointed that the majority of federal and state prisons and local jails are predominantly filled with blacks and other minorities. I'm sure he would be disappointed that the federal budget cuts to education and other programs that help the less fortunate. He had a poor people's campaign. Nobody speaks about the poor. We don't have no lobbyists in Washington, D.C. that speaks about the poor. And Jesus loves the poor. I'm sure that Dr. King will be disappointed in our elected officials and their lack of cooperation to work together for the best interests of all Americans. I'm sure that Dr. King will be disappointed that many young black men have to walk the streets in fear of losing their lives due to racial profiling, negative stereotypes, and gang violence, just to name a few things. There's a war going on outside, and only God can save us from us. I'm sure that Dr. King will be disappointed how many young black women are disrespected and degraded by the ones who are supposed to be protecting and supporting them. There's a war going on outside, and only God can save us from us. I'm sure that Dr. King will be disappointed in how the Supreme Court took out key provisions of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and how many politicians are attempting to gerrymander their way into political power in local, state, and national elections. There's a war going on outside, and only God can save us from us. And lastly, I'm sure that Dr. King will be deeply troubled by the many pastors who are more concerned about their own prosperity than the salvation of God's children. There's a war going on inside of the church, and only God can save us from us. With that being said, it is my duty to speak briefly about a few of Dr. King's quotes. The first quote comes from Dr. King's The Letter from Birmingham Jail, where he states that time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or destructively. Time is neutral. it can be used either constructively or destructively. It is important that you understand that your heart will stop beating before time stops ticking. You will not always have the time you have now, so stop wasting it. It is important that you understand that your heart will stop beating before time stops ticking. You will not always have the time you have now, so stop wasting it. Stop dreaming and start living, because Dr. King was more than a mere dreamer. He had more speeches than the I Have a Dream speech, which was a great speech. In order to understand King, you need to go listen to his Knock at Midnight, Rediscovering Lost Values message, Unfulfilled Dreams. He has more than I Have a Dream. He was a visionary, and you shouldn't wander through life wasting precious time that you will soon regret. You waste it while being unproductive and doing things of no importance. It seems like today many of us get distracted by things that have little importance. Stop wasting your time. Dr. King also said, human progress never rolls on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals who are willing to be co-workers with God. Are you willing to be a co-worker with God to build up the kingdom? If we as a people are truly going to be free and emancipated from our mental, physical, and spiritual slavery, we must be guided by the will of God. And the last quote comes from Dr. King's Unfulfilled Dreams message, where he so eloquently states that salvation is being on the right road, not having reached a destination. Salvation is being on the right road, not having reached a destination. Many of us are traveling down the wrong roads of life toward a head-on collision with our self-destruction. My brothers and sisters, please turn around and get on the right road. We must make Dr. King's dream a reality. It's only a dream if we don't transform it into reality. Thank you.